So before we close our discussions on this quick introduction to Indian knowledge systems, it will be useful to understand how unique IKS is. This knowledge is very important to us because only then we will be able to appreciate, maybe read and make more sense of what is there contained in those scriptures and so on. So we will spend a little time on it. Indian knowledge system is oral. Therefore, there are certain nuances of an oral tradition which we need to understand. Because if something is oral, transmitted orally, then the entire knowledge has to be committed to one's own memory. Please understand this requirement. We don't have a tablet or a book for us to refer. Everything is to be stored here. Our CPU, the mega CPU is here, so we have to store everything here. Therefore, everything has to be committed into one's memory. That puts a certain challenge and a certain requirement, and that requirement is the knowledge has to be concise. You can't be very elaborate and all that, because it will run to thousands of words and millions of pages, and all that is not possible. So therefore, if you look at Indian knowledge system, it will be very characteristic with verses. Many of the ideas will be in the form of nice shlokas. That's a compact way of representing. Sutras, mnemonics, simple mnemonics, these are all very common. We need to understand why it is required, because it is an oral tradition. And there are very unique methods to represent even numbers. We will see it in one of the later videos. When we talk about number systems, we will deal it with more detail. Therefore, all these. The other issue that we need to understand is IKS, when you have to be very concise. You can't write a separate book for philosophy, another book for religion, a third book for mathematics, a fourth book for within mathematics, astronomy or geometry. You have to weave all of them because there is only so much you can commit to your memory. Therefore, you will quite often find in Indian knowledge system, a single work can provide simultaneously. You take the same shloka, for example, you will find it will have some philosophical idea, it will have a religious idea, it will have a secular idea also, something for day-to-day use and so on. I will demonstrate all these with some examples so that we really appreciate why Indian knowledge system is very unique, and we have to see it from that lens. Let us take the value of pi. Indians had different ways by which they actually calculated pi. So I will give you two examples here. Look at this shloka. It says, Chaturadikam Shatam Ashtagunam Dvasashtistata Sahasranam Ayutadvaya Vishkamba Asannaha Vritta Parinaha. It's a Sanskrit shloka. It says Chaturadikam plus 4. Adikam is 4 plus Chaturadikam. Shatam is 100. Ashtagunam is multiplied by 8 times. So 104, 100 plus 4, 104 multiplied by 8, it gives you 832. Then Dvasashti is 62. Sahasra is 1000. So 62,000. So now we have you put all of them together, you get 62,832. There is one number. Then in the second line it says Ayuta Dvaya. Ayuta is 10,000. Dvaya is 2. So we are talking of 20,000 now. So we have got two numbers now, 62,832 and 20,000. You put one in the numerator, one in the denominator, you will actually get the value of pi as 3.1416. So that is to explain this number in all these mathematics. A beautiful shloka is given here in which the value of pi is available, because Vritta Parinaha is circumference, Vishkamba is diameter. It says the ratio of the diameter, circumference to the diameter is 62,832 divided by 20,000, which turns out to be the value of pi. We look at something else. Pingala in the 2nd century BC, which we are talking about 2,300 years back. He wrote a text called Chandas Shastra. See, Chandas is all about prosody, and how do you create meters and so on. So he defined 8 groups of 3 letters. He defined 8 groups of 3 letters, and with that he constructed his this prosody, this Pingala Shastra, Chandas Shastra. Now what he did was, he defined a Lagu and a Guru. Something like Hrasva is called Lagu, something which is Samyuktakshara and it has more and all that is called Guru. We will see all these later. I am only giving a quick example here. Now what is so interesting, and he went on with his Chandra Shastra and so on. Suppose if you say Lagu is equal to 1 and Guru equal to 0. He used the word Lagu and Guru. Suppose you replace Lagu equal to 1 and Guru equal to 0, then you actually get a binary word now. 8 unique binary words will come, because he put 3 of them into one and created a group, and which he called it as Gana. So there is a table in which the 8 Ganas are there, and each Gana has a certain combination of ones and zeros, number 3 digit. Now how do you remember all these? All these we can remember with a simple mnemonic, and the mnemonic is called Yamata Rajabana Salagam. I mean, if you know what it means, this entire discussion of 8 groups, what is a Ya group? Ya is a Ya group, Ma is a Ma group, Ta is a Ta group. So Yamata Rajabana, there is a Ra group, Ja group, and so on. All that can be remembered with just this mnemonic. What is interesting, I will talk about only the first part of the mnemonic. Ya, Ma, Ta. Ya is actually Lagu, Ma is Guru, Ta is Guru. So with our scheme of ones and zeros, Yamata becomes 100. So that is called Yagana. So like that you can say Matara. Matara are 3 gurus. So it is 0, 0, 0. Like that we can go. We will see all that in a later chapter. But I am telling you, with a simple Yamata Rajabana Salagam, which is easy to memorize, we can construct the entire Pingala's 8 Ganas and go on. So this is very characteristic in Indian knowledge systems. Look at this. Again, Aryabhatta came with a shloka. I mean, the shloka is a little difficult to recite, but then look at here. It says Maki, Bhaki, Kaki, Dhaki, Naki, and so on. It looks very strange. But if you memorize this shloka, if you apply the Aryabhattian number representation system which he proposed, this shloka gives the R sign differences. As engineers we use a Clark's table and look at the R sign differences. There is a stream of numbers which we refer. We don't need any of them. You should know the Aryabhattian classification scheme, and this shloka, for example, this Maki is actually 225. The Baki is actually 224 and so on. So that is what is being represented in this 2-line shloka actually, a short verse. This is the last example I want to give on this, how they use some very intelligent methods of representing complex numbers. This is a shloka which says Vibhuda Netra Gajahi Hutashana Triguna Veda Bhavarana Bhagavaha. Then it says Nava Nikarva Mite Vritta. All that is there. Second line I am not going to read because that is again not relevant. This is again a definition of pi by Madhavacharya, the great Jain monk. Now we had a system called Bhuta Sankhya. We used some known entities to represent numbers. For example, here it says Vibhuda. Vibhuda is actually Devas, and if you read Indian scriptures, there are 33 Devas. So Vibhuda means 33. Netra, we all have only 2 eyes, so Netra means 2. That's what it says. Then it says Gaja and Ahi. Gaja is elephant, Ahi is actually snake, and so on. So the first line of the verse has numbers which are provided using the Bhuta Sankhya. Hutashana. Hutashana is actually fire, and there are only 3 major fires. If you read the scriptures, you understand it, and at that time it was a common parlance. 3 is number 3. Guna, there are only 3 gunas. So guna also means 3, right? So if you put all of them, you actually get a very huge number, which is explained through this shloka. Vibhuda Netra Gajahi Hutashana Triguna. Veda. Veda is 4. There are only 4 Vedas. So Veda means 4. So the number that comes through this mechanism is 28274333888233. Nobody can remember this number, but we can remember this shloka and use the Bhuta Sankhya and roll back the numbers. So this is the number that is there in the first line. And the second line there is a Nikarva and Nava Nikarva. Nikarva is 10 power 11 and Nava Nikarva is 9 into 10 power 11. So now Madhavacharya gives another definition for pi. Put this huge number on the top, 28274333388233, that number, numerator. put 9 into 10 power 11 in the denominator, you actually get the value of pi, which is of a very high precision, up to I think 13 digits or 14 digits. So that's how they managed huge numbers, complex ideas with beautiful simple shlokas and so on. Remembering shloka is much easier sometimes than remembering all these numbers and so on. This is the mnemonic and sutras and all that. I will talk about this multi-dimensional nature of Indian knowledge system. I will take Bhagavad Gita as an example. In Bhagavad Gita, there is this famous shloka. This was the title song for Mahabharata serial in this country. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. This is a shloka. This talks about Avatara Purusha. So it's a religious idea. Krishna is saying, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanihi bhavati, when dharma gets deteriorated, abhyuttanam adharmasya, to knock off adharma, tada atmanam srijamyaham, I will take birth, I will come as an Avatara Purusha. And why? Paritranaya sadhunam, I will protect the good. And vinashaya cha dushkritam, I will destroy all evil things. And dharma samsthapanarthaya, restore dharma again and again I will come. Sambhavami yuge yuge. So if you read it like this is purely a religious idea. You have to believe reincarnation, you have to believe Vishnu, you have to believe Krishna, then only this shloka makes sense. Anyway, so this is a religious angle to it. But as a professor of management, I find a profound idea here. See, if the price of tomato goes up, 20 rupees, 30 rupees, 70 rupees, 80 rupees, 100 rupees, onions go up, what happens? The dharma is deteriorated. Order is destroyed now. What do we do now? Somebody has to come and then, the traders may be hoarding the tomatoes, or government has to step in and give a support price, bring down the price. All that we will have to do. In other words, the same shloka I can explain slightly differently. What I can say is stability and long-term sustainability of the system happens because there are regenerative points in the system. When the system attains disequilibrium and shows signs of being unstable and going out of control, corrective measures are taken to restore equilibrium in the system. So this Avatara Purusha is actually talking about equilibrium in a system, which is an important economic principle. One can also read it from these shlokas because it lends itself to bring us that kind of a perspective. One more shloka I will take, and again from Bhagavad Gita. This is a shloka in chapter 2. It says, Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya navani grinnati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. It says, if a shirt is worn out, jirnani vastrani, shirt is worn out, you just throw the shirt, wear another shirt. In the same way, the dehi, the one which occupies the deha, right? The embodied soul which gets into your body, says this body is worn out, let me leave and go. So it is talking about a birth and death process in some ways. It's a very philosophical idea. How birth and death, what happens, and those kinds of ideas, if you read the shloka like this. Whereas this shloka is at the core of innovation according to me. Because I would have actually translated the shloka in a slightly different way. I will say, in order to be successful and sustainable, what we need to do is we need to constantly engage ourselves in new ideas. We have to discard old mindset. We have to discard old ideas, only then progress will happen. So it is an idea of innovation. Joseph Schumpeter talked about what is called creative destruction. You have to destroy to create new things. So that also comes through these shlokas. So all these are ideas. I would like to stop here. All these are ideas just to tell you that IKS has to be viewed slightly differently. Because of oral tradition, they did things which are a little different than what we do today. We have a nice tablet, we have a printed form, we have web pages, you can write thousands of pages. But IKS is not like that. Therefore, we need to look deeper into IKS. With this introduction about what is IKS, what is unique about IKS, how long is this IKS and so on, let us now move forward and step into specific details of IKS, which we will see in the future modules. Thank you, and then we will conclude this introduction to IKS here. Thank you.